Jacson, you mentioned earlier about your harsh critiquing, to put it kindly, for John Schneider.
Mhm.
Why? What is the whole big deal behind that whole thing? Because I have been sort of on a toss up in this point for the last couple of years with Schneider. And I want to hear what you have to say first before the two of us, me and Dustin, go off the deep end on John. So go
Uh,
crazy.
I I think that what John Schneider did early in his career was incredible. His first three drafts were maybe the best 3 year stretch of drafts by a single team we've seen in the free agency period. And that won them a title. It got them to another Super Bowl and carried them for a while. There have been a bunch of really deep analytical analyses of GMs and drafting, and the consensus conclusion from all of that is that it's pretty noisy. There isn't really a skill to drafting well. There is so much randomness that it's really hard to say this team drafts well, that team doesn't draft well. Now, there are teams that draft poorly consistently. There are
Yes.
very few that draft well consistently. And I think John Schneider's been trading in on that incredible first few year run for a long time. And I wouldn't be surprised. It would have happened to me if I started out my career with those drafts. I would have thought I was smarter than the league too. I probably would have started galaxy braining LJ Collier and James Carpenter and Rashad Penny
Yeah.
and all of these picks because my 2010, 2011, and 2012 grades were panned by everyone. Also, they famously got F grades from Kuiper and McShay. So
Yeah.
he's saying, "Well, fuck what you guys think. Clearly that worked out. I know what I'm doing." Well, he drafted one good player in the next 5 years. That was Tyler Lockett, and so he's been like kind of average since then. But he hasn't done enough elsewhere, in my opinion, to overcome it because every time I hear people say, I'm glad they traded Geno, I'm glad they moved on from DK. Okay, why? Well, because they haven't been good enough. They haven't won a playoff game. Motherfucker, if you think Geno Smith is in the top 10 reasons that they haven't won a playoff game, I don't know what the hell you're watching. They
Yeah.
can't fucking block. They haven't blocked in a decade. The fact that
Yeah.
they're winning 9 or 10 games every year is because of Geno Smith and
That is a
DK Metcalf.
miracle, to put it kindly.
So for him to just and every interview is just so arrogant about the offensive line, and it's like, listen, pal, I'm fine with saying you understand this roster better than me. I'm never going to say otherwise, but I can look at the track record, and you've stunk in the same area forever, and you haven't tried anything else to fix it. You've used two top picks on offensive linemen, and those are the two that worked out for you: Charles Cross and Russell Okung. Everybody else has stunk, except for maybe Abe Lucas if he can get healthy again. It's a bad track record, and if you're going to fail the same way for 12 straight off seasons, just fail differently. Go out and try spending some money on offensive line because what you're doing isn't working.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think largely, and I gotta ask both of you, but we'll start with the guest as always, I guess. Because I feel like there's a large percentage of Seahawk fans. Well, I don't know about large percentage, but I think there's a lot of people that were willing to give John Schneider the benefit of the doubt because Pete Carroll had in the previous arrangement, he had the final say over
Yes.
personnel. So people are laying it at the feet of Pete, the successes and the misses. So some people's argument was now we're finally going to get to see what Schneider can do when he's the sole decision maker. So this is what makes the last couple of off seasons kind of interesting because now this is his imprint, but the offensive line woes, those were consistent no matter who had final say. They've always been that. They've always been that way.
Luke Jokel. I will never forget that.
Oh man, yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. if you're not going to have amazing drafts anymore, and he, like I said, he's been fine the last few years. He's had some hits. What is it that you are great at that's going to elevate this team? Because you signed 10 free agents last year. Your first year, full reigns, you signed 10 free agents last year.
Yep.
None of them are on the 2025 roster.
Yep.
0 for 10. 0 for 10.
Yep. When do you think a change could happen? Let's throw the hypothetical train and go, all right, if the Seahawks fail to make the playoffs again, which is a very good possibility considering the NFC's very top heavy.
Yeah.
Very top heavy. But let's say they miss the playoffs at 9-8. Do they dare make a change at GM?
I don't think John Schneider's job is in any jeopardy at all, because trading Geno Smith and DK Metcalf and not guaranteeing any money to anybody beyond 2025 is not the type of moves that GM on the hot seat makes. None of that is about win now. The argument for the moves they're making is to be in a position to re-sign all your guys and load up in 2026 and beyond, and have enough. I think the defense will be good enough to keep them competitive and keep them a 7 to 9 win team this year. I don't think they're just going to be terrible, but I don't think John Schneider's in trouble until Jody Allen is finally forced to sell the team.
Which, by the way, for those wondering, it's next year.
Well, it was supposed to be 2 years ago, so we'll see. She's been fighting that pretty hard, and I can't get out of my head that the year she took over the Portland Trailblazers, they were coming off of their first Western Conference Finals appearance in 20 years, and in the offseason, she completely gutted it, and they haven't even won 40% of their games in a season ever since.
Oof.
And it chased away the best player that they ever had. So maybe it's apples and oranges, but I think that as long as Jody is there, John is there.